With the end of Sly 1 and its cliffhanger ending, our beloved Trash Bandit returned with his gang after his first successful debut to be given even more thieving hijinks. But how much fun did this crew steal from us? I'm Saggy, and I will be discussing the worst parts of Sly 2 Band of Thieves. In this sequel, the cooperation of the gang has been expanded, and now everyone can be on the field. No more point A to point B levels and more open-ended missions. This is already better than Thievius Raccoonus, but unfortunately, it can become draining. Each hub world has a collection of tasks to complete in order to pull off the big heist at the end. But once you've taken pictures or hacked with the twin-stick shooter for the third time with no changes, it does become a bit monotonous. A similar approach was made for Sly 1 and some of its mini-games, and that same philosophy sneaks its way into this game too. And you would think that some of these would change the closer you get to the end of the game, but even in the final level, you're taking pictures, hacking shit, and throwing shit with Murray. I almost would have rather seen the devs create more missions rather than slap the cookie cutter heist essentials into every stage. The context may have changed, but the overall principle still remained.
Show your bling and let me shine you.
Combative scenarios have changed quite a bit between this and the first game, but in totality, it's lacking. Sly swinging his cane is relatively unchanged, but there are a few power-ups that add to his arsenal. However, most of your takedowns with the lead thief will boil down to sneak up to an enemy, uppercut into insta-kill. Sly is meant to be stealthy, sure, but when you're thrown into scenarios where combat is the only option, you can't rely on your best move. Bentley and Murray also get their fair share of abilities, but of course not as many as Sly. Bentley is pretty similar to Sly, where you don't necessarily want to take on adversaries head on, but rather lull them to sleep. Many of his abilities overlap and seem more like upgrades than separate moves. Murray, on the other hand, can go toe-to-toe with the toughest of enemies by fisting them to death. He gets a handful of pyromancy spells with a charge and a howl that will end your notoriety like Lester. These would be great if they weren't so limited. In this game, the abilities are tied to a bar unlike Sly 1, and you have to bank on enemies dropping health packs to restore it. None of these are super terrible, and most can be used for multiple cases, which is an improvement over the first entry. The level design has changed in a way that is expansive, but not mechanically. Sly doesn't need to regain his thief moves from 1 and can climb, tightrope, etc., so traversal is immediately familiar and simple. Despite implementing his companions deeper into the gameplay, they omitted to give them some alternative to move as their thieving pal. The pair both have a movement option that gives you some speed on the ground floor, but as you know, abilities are limited, not to mention how easy it is to alert the guards with noise. They both also receive an ability for height, with our Shield company getting a jetpack and the Murray a bigger jump. Cool. Even with these small attempts to give the two mobility, the map will be rather annoying to run through with them every single time they have the spotlight, considering you can avoid guards so simply via rooftop like Sly. You'll be playing as Cooper most of the time, which makes this all the more apparent, but at least it gives you time to learn the bottom side of the map, I suppose. For Sly 2, they upped the ante of the storytelling, and it's arguably the best in the franchise, but there are parts that bring it down a tad. As the Cooper gang rounds up the dismembered clockwork parts, they don't even realize that the accomplice of Carmelita, Neela, was playing them like a fiddle. She even went as far as to turn on Miss Fox, and she is a pretty dastardly individual overall. But when we're told that she was in cahoots with another one of the Claw Gang's members, Arpeggio, her character arc takes a turn for the worse. Arpeggio is given a backstory that lets us know that he wants these parts to give him flight and immortality to eliminate the weakness that plagued him his whole life. Clockwork is fully assembled, but when it's showtime, Neela drops the cunning and deceptive demeanor held throughout the entire game and reveals she wants immortality because she's evil, I guess? We get to see Bentley go from naked and afraid to battle hardened, so why couldn't we get the same treatment with Neela? Yeah, she was betraying her comrades, but why does she want to be immortal? Her backstory, which isn't even in the game, doesn't scream I want ultimate power, only showcasing the persuasive and manipulative nature that Neela has been presenting the entire game. I guess the devs couldn't figure out what would happen if to Neela if Arpeggio were to fuse with Clockwork instead, so the roles were reversed, or we could chalk it up to a good old scrapping content. But what do you think? Maybe you don't like the canned animations for every character and wished it was more like other mascots. Maybe you wish that the game centered around Sly's gameplay reminiscent of the first game. Let me know below. Like and subscribe. I'm Saggy and I'm also out.